If you're substituting a wife for a pixels on a screen, that's perverted. Do I think that people participating in these activities are losers? Yes. Have I ever been a loser? Have I participated in activities that made me a loser? Yes. Same with like the queers and all that. You ever see how it just sounds like you're arguing with demons? It's the same way. Be genuine for once.
No, you be genuine for once. So we're going to be dissecting Melonie Mac's hilarious cope video. It was 30 minutes of her dodging her audience's questions, pinning the blame of her problems on them, accusing them of being just total degenerates, and also referring to them as demons. You know, when have you heard Kathleen Kennedy refer to the Star Wars fandom in that way? You know, that South Park episode where all these people criticizing Kathleen Kennedy became Kathleen Kennedy, I think that Melonie Mac is the personification of this. I think that she is way worse than a lot of the supposed, SJW journos that she's been attacking for a long time, and she goes completely mask off. She actually calls her audience homophobic. You can't make this stuff up. We're going to get to it a bit at a time, so let's take a quick look at these clips over here.
Didn't really comment on the game itself. I commented on the material that was presented in question.
Okay, talk about deflecting and not taking responsibility. So here Melonie Mac says that she isn't commenting on the game itself. She never did that. Well, just look at the tweet that started all of this. In this tweet, she said, "I'd never play a Gooner game, though." Because somebody said, is this what gamers want? And she'd say, "I'd never play a Gooner game, though." So she was calling the game a Gooner game, basically meaning the people who play it are total addicts to touching themselves. Now sure, this scene, obviously, or this costume I should say, is for the male gaze, but that is a completely different thing from somebody who's chronically addicted to self-pleasuring. Two completely different things, Melonie. And even more hilarious, just look at what she says on the thumbnail. Unless she changes it, but it says, "saying no to perverted games." So she's calling the game perverted. The video just started and it's already starting on a false pretense. She's trying to gaslight you less than 2 minutes in. So if this is how she starts her video, it's going to get worse. So just have that in mind. If you're lying here, what else are you maybe lying about?
After Goonergate, I was like, well, if that's how everybody expects me to be, and that's the only substance of my channel is to hop on here and be like, "Oh, whoa, guys, look at that. We win. Her whole butt's out. Yeah, hot." That's not me. That's not going to be me.
Melonie, that was you, though. For 9 months, you were crying about Stellar Blade, saying, how come all of these woke people want to cover her up? This is just what people see at a beach. This is just like women in swimsuits. Well, in Stellar Blade, she was way less covered, than in this game. It was a lot more sexualized, and yet you were cheering it on. So yes, this is what you've been doing.
The material that was presented in question of the tweet that blew up and got me so much backlash and hate and saying I was betraying everybody.
So yes, people do feel a little bit betrayed that now you're pivoting, you're making a 180. They also feel like maybe they can't trust you because maybe you weren't honest to them previously. Also, it's important to note, too, there's a difference between the game in totality and that little snippet you saw. So if you would just say, yeah, I'm criticizing this little scene that was presented to me, this clip, that would be completely different than you saying, I'm criticizing the entire game itself. Because, it isn't necessary to have, your character, dressed like this in this swimsuit, and then have her, dance provocatively. That isn't something that has to happen. So if you could have just been honest and said, I don't like this scene, but I'm not saying every aspect of the game is, degenerate, then I think that you'd also be in a lot less hot water.
I would rather not have the channel at all. I would rather quit this channel and go full time with a leap of faith on my Bible channel. I am not doing that.
Again, Melonie, you've already been doing this for a long time. I covered that in a separate video. In this one, to goon or not to goon, that is the question. Melonie Mac exposes herself as a hypocrite. If you watch that video, there will not be a single shadow of doubt in your mind that she is completely disingenuous. Now, with regards to you quitting this and doing your Bible channel, yeah, no balls. Yeah, there's no way you're going to do that. No way. And now we're going to watch her deflect and not take an ounce of responsibility and pin the blame on no one else but you, the viewer. And now we're going to watch you grossly misrepresent your audience's rebuttals, but also who they are as people, and you're going to make some deranged attacks at their character.
Not only was I grossly misrepresented and told, oh, what are you talking about? You're being a prude because this character was 80% clothed, huh?
You were defending Stellar Blade, and in that game she was only 20% clothed?
Okay, I know a lot of you aren't even going to hear what I'm saying, and you're still going to be doing these whataboutisms in my comments because you are so defensive. But hey, maybe some will listen. I got canceled from the anti-woke side, right? Canceled or cancel attempt. You know, it is what it is.
Yeah, if you don't agree with Melonie, then you're being defensive. Then you're making whataboutisms. You're not making real arguments. You aren't listening. Did you unsubscribe from Melonie Mac? Did you unfollow her on Twitter? You just canceled her. You horrible person. She is entitled to you. You have to watch her. You have to follow her. Otherwise, you're canceling her. You must validate her. Now we're going to watch her just ignore her audience's actual concerns and construct these straw men which have nothing to do with the conversation people are trying to have.
Now, Lara Croft was a character who was curvy, feminine, but you play those classic games and you show me anything that was lustfully intended, right? Show me anywhere where Lara Croft acted like a slut, because she didn't. Show me anything, because it's not there.
See, it's really funny, Melonie, that you're going to bring up Lara Croft, but you will totally ignore Stellar Blade, which was way worse. Again, this is a straw man. Yeah, there are some people who are bringing up Lara Croft, but again, Stellar Blade is on par to and worse than that one scene you saw from Descendant 1.
I'm going to use a male as an example. If you're substituting a wife for a pixels on a screen, that's perverted. Your sexual gratification is supposed to come from your wife. And if you are seeking alternate sources, seeking those sources for sexual pleasure, you are acting in abomination and perversion.
Melonie, what does this have anything to do with the conversation? You accused this game of being a total degenerate game for people who chronically touch themselves. And now you're saying that people who play that game are replacing their wife with this character. Obviously, everybody is against the idea of living in this dystopian Matrix-type society where, you don't have real family, everything's fake, and you're just doing things digitally. Yes, we're against that, Melonie. But this is just a complete straw man. This isn't what we're talking about. You decided to call this game completely degenerate, and now people are calling your bluff.
And I'm going to tell you, if you actually look at a brilliant and artistic mind who can create a masterpiece, typically they have respect for their work. And as a result, you're going to see that portrayed in the characters that they create as well. So are you going to find a perverted game that happens to be a masterpiece? The chances of that are almost non-existent because, again, someone even capable of in the first place of producing a masterpiece is going to respect their work enough for that not to happen.
There are multiple issues with this argument here. The first being that the idea of what is a masterpiece is subjective. The other issue is that what is degenerate, that is also, subjective. And I think the more fundamental issue is also this belief that people who have a different way of thinking than you, which you may consider to be either arcane or, degenerate or just, backwards in some way, that they're not capable of creating, high art. And I disagree with that. There have been some works that I would consider to be a masterpiece that have featured ideas that I consider to be, either degenerate or just wrong.
Just like look at movies. If you compare a masterpiece of a movie to pornography, I keep saying corn because of YouTube monetization stuff. Have you ever in the history of your life seen something actually taken serious where somebody was like, wow, this pornography movie, my mind is blown by how insanely good the plot was and how the story, just that plot twist, the story just left me thinking about life and just it changed me on a spiritual level. No, that doesn't happen.
Now, this is really interesting because I actually agree with Melonie Mac and how she measures if something's a masterpiece. When I do a review for a book, a comic, a movie, I don't tell you on a scale of 1 to 10 or 1 to 5 where I think it is. I'll ask questions like, is the plot coherent? And then, that's just to figure out if it's good. But to figure out if it's a masterpiece, I'll say, did this keep me up at night? Did I keep thinking about it? Did it change the way I look at things? Did it change who I am? So that's interesting. We do have a similar way of measuring, how good things are in that way. Now, if she was actually talking about, as she says, pornography and pornographic films, then I actually wouldn't have an issue with what she's saying here. But she's talking about, again, this video game where a woman is in like a one-piece swimsuit and she's dancing provocatively. And again, that's just like an optional thing. That's not something you have to do in the game. So she's diluting the language. She's also falsely comparing this video game to just what I consider to be a social toxin. And so I think that's pretty offensive, to mislabel somebody's work like that. Think about how she's insulting the developers, and all of the people who poured lots of time into this game. And then above all, she's just arguing into the wind. This has nothing to do with the conversation we're supposed to have. This is another big straw man.
Was a video of a character dancing and shaking her butt in a thong with the camera focused on it.
Now again, I think the whole issue here is she's equating, just one scene she saw with an entire game.
Again, I'm not going to post it just out of respect to my fellow Christian viewers. And I know some guys are struggling with pornography and they don't want to see that because of that reason.
So now here, it's really interesting. She's basically saying, if you do play this game, then, or if you do disagree with me, then you're not Christian.
But I have been there where I used to be, oh yeah, I'm a Christian. But I was living in a way that wasn't biblical. Or I was supporting things that wasn't biblical. So easy to call yourself Christian, but are you?
Again, if you disagree with me, you aren't Christian, you aren't following the Bible.
Okay, I know a lot of you aren't even going to hear what I'm saying, and you're still going to be doing these whataboutisms in my comments because you are so defensive. But hey, maybe some will listen. Same with like the queers and all that. You ever see how it just sounds like you're arguing with demons? It's the same way. These demons have a hold on these people and they can't be reasoned with because they are so engulfed in their perversion. And what they don't realize is that the satisfaction they think that they're getting out of their perversion is just self-destructive. It's like you want to tell somebody to stop doing drugs because they're hurting themselves, but they cannot hear it.
Whoa. Not only are you not Christian if you disagree with me, but you're also possessed? When did Kathleen Kennedy ever say anything this deranged? Again, Melonie Mac is going full mask off here.
So I didn't make this channel 3 years ago to put my neck out there to get blacklisted from the video game industry so I can't even do mainstream work like I used to do. I didn't put myself in that position to call out the perversion with the queer ideology and this, that, and the other that has been infecting everything. I didn't put myself in that position just so I could turn around and push perversion just because it's straight. Not gonna happen. You weren't against the queer stuff for any sort of moral reason. You were against the queer stuff because you weren't attracted to it. But you still want something equally as perverted, but just something that you are attracted to.
Okay, so listen really closely to what she's saying here. She's saying, I go against, the gay stuff and the straight stuff. That makes me not a homophobe, but you only go after the gay stuff, which makes you a homophobe, which is pretty funny to see her coming from that angle. But I think it just goes to show that, a few years ago, she mentioned in this video how people were saying, oh, well, this is what you said in 2018. Well, Melonie, we don't even have to go back to 2018. We can just go to 2020. You're saying a lot of this, far left activist stuff. Hearing Melonie Mac call her critics homophobes was not exactly on my bingo card.
You know what I am sick and tired of? Can't post anything on social media because somebody's offended with some crayon flag in their bio. They got like this furry, tooty, crap.
Anyway, I found this Cope video extremely hilarious. Let me know what you think in the comments below. As always, I hope you have a great rest of your day, and don't forget to like and subscribe, or...
You are a hoe ass